Okay, we'll go ahead and do roll call.
Mr. Elliott?
Here.
Mr. Cunningham?
Here.
Mr. Hilsinger?
Here.
Mr. Lawler?
Here.
And Mr. Ballard?
Here.
Okay, that gives us 5. We need a motion to accept the minutes from the October 25 meeting.
I make a motion.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it 5-0. No status sheet, no committee reports. We'll go to the first item, which is new business consideration, PC 26-21, Dairy Maids, Inc.
Hello, this is PC 2621 Dairy Maids, Inc. It's a request for a CUP in the C2 and FPC2 on a 1.06 acre tract of land in the southwest quadrant of Halls Ferry Road and Capel Drive. The site is home to an occupied retail strip in addition to the vacant vehicle service center, which is the subject of this position. As you recall, this site is in North County. Here's a second aerial where you can see the commercial frontage along Halls Ferry and the residential behind. This is the preliminary site development plan presented at public hearing. The existing 1,250 square foot building will remain. They are proposing to add 1 accessible parking space. No new landscaping is proposed and no other site improvements are proposed. The planning department is recommending the petitioner close the eastern entrance from Capel Drive as directed by the St. Louis County Department of Transportation and close the northern entrance from Halls Ferry Road if directed by MoDOT. We're also recommending revising the use of wheel stops to control traffic within the site as approved on the site development plan. The site will also have to comply with the landscaping and lighting requirements for the underlying C2. The department recommends approval of this request. We find that commercial zoning is in keeping with the surrounding land use and that a vehicle repair facility is appropriate at this site, which had been used as a vehicle service center from 1954 through 2020. We're recommending that the eastern curb cut on Capel Drive be closed as directed by the County Department of Transportation. Additionally, no wrecked or damaged and immobilized vehicles may be stored on the site for more than 72 hours, which is a requirement from the zoning ordinance.
Okay, we need a motion of some kind. Anyone?
I make a motion, we accept it with the changes that were noted.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Lawler.
Discussion?
Yes, I have a question. If directed by MoDOT, are you recommending that? What's their take on this so far? Do you know?
They did not recommend to close. They didn't recommend anything about closing it.
So then that if doesn't have to be in there, is that right?
MoDOT typically gives us sort of their boilerplate comments about, making improvements per their access guidelines, but they did not specifically recommend closing the northern entrance. But if they did, this is included in the analysis portion of the report, but it's not included in the conditions of development.
So do they listen to your recommendation? I mean, you're saying, but you're saying if, so you're letting them off the hook, I guess is what you're doing. You recommend that they have one only if it's directed by MoDOT.
The main issue is if you look at the plan that's up now, Abby has a box around the wheel stops that currently separate what was a vehicle service center from the rest of the site. And so it sort of depends on how the site development plan is submitted if the CUP is granted. If that northern entrance would close, they would likely need to remove those wheel stops because then they would only have one curb cut if the one access point on Capel is closed and one on New Halls Ferry. So it sort of depends. So we've written it with that flexibility, but it would be a conversation between planning staff and MoDOT during the site development plan review portion.
Okay, then the other question is, the 72-hour limitation of damage and wrecked vehicles. How do we put more teeth into someone enforcing those rules? Because I see a lot of these places up here getting into that business where they have wrecked automobiles sitting out front. A typical example is one on, I think that's Dunn Road up there at Old Halls Ferry. Used to be a Shell service station there. A lot of you guys weren't here. That's in the planning department now, but I think, Wayne, you remember that, don't you?
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and so they have a lot of wrecked vehicles around there. I don't know if they're repairing them or what they're doing. And there's some more establishments that are coming up doing the same thing. I'm just wondering, how do we put teeth into that make sure they, stop that? Lou, I don't know if you're seeing that. Are you seeing the same thing?
Actually, I have not. I'm wondering what part of Dunn Road, what Shell?
Well, it's not there anymore. It's an old Halls Ferry and Dunn Road, right behind the, where the big church is up there?
Yes.
Tower. Okay, there's a service station down there. They're doing a lot of repair down there now. They're fixing over a new bridge and new roads and everything.
Okay.
So enforcement of this condition, and as Abby mentioned, it's in the zoning ordinance outright, would come from the Public Works Zoning Enforcement Division. And what would probably kick in their enforcement would be a citizen complaint or a neighbor complaint. Jacob, I don't know if you'd like to weigh in on that.
No, essentially that's what I was going to say is that, it would require the issuance of a citation by the Department of Public Works, sending out an inspector if a violation is noticed or discovered. So it would be a violation-based, sort of expectation. We find that the 72 hours, it comports with with what goes on in the zoning ordinance. In terms of, I don't know whether the concern is, you want these vehicles shielded from visibility. I think the department's concern about that would be is that then you're almost inviting a vehicle storage yard de facto to sort of show up if you said, hide them behind a site-proof fence. So that would be a concern, I think, of the department. We'd want to do an analysis if that was one of the directives of the commission. But really, it would be, like Mel said, it would be really focused on a violation and someone noticing the violation and then and going through that process, which would ultimately take them to court if they didn't clear up their violations.
Well, Jacob, if you're only doing general auto repair, you shouldn't have wrecked vehicles there to begin with.
You shouldn't, but with this being the higher of the two automotive service type uses, this is the higher intensity where engines could be installed, where really truly heavy work can be done inside of these bays. So there could theoretically be a time in which a vehicle would be, sitting on the site. Hope it should be appropriately brought in, repaired during the day, and then stored on the exterior. But there should be clear and obvious movement that the vehicle is being repaired and not just being stored for days or weeks on end, waiting for repair.
From a public hearing, if I remember correctly, he did not have anyone lined up to take this space.
That is our understanding, that this is in some ways, they are attempting or desiring to establish the required uses so that they can hopefully get a new tenant into the space. But you are correct, yes.
And my take from what they were indicating was they were going to do no improvements to the exterior of the building, which was in pretty rough shape. And it was kind of like, take it or leave it. Here's what you give me the zoning and this is it.
Mel, was that accurate? I thought that
I
they were.
think the petitioner indicated that building improvements would be at the tenant's responsibility.
expense.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We don't know who the tenant is or the extent of those improvements.
Correct.
Correct. Any improvements that they would be doing would have to make sure that it comports with building code.
What's
thought
our
he said,
guarantees?
Yeah, I thought he said if repairs were made, it would be at the tenant's.
Hmm.
So if the tenant chooses to just stay with the building as is, then there's no repair or anything.
That's correct.
If again,
I understood, the way that I understood it was that when and if a tenant comes, there is going to have to be some repairs done to the building one way or another, no matter what happens when a tenant comes. So, and this may be, I would need to go back and rewatch the public hearing, but my understanding of it is that it was when and if they get a tenant, then it will be their responsibility to make the repairs, but it wouldn't necessarily be just a, that there would be no repairs made. However, did we, Mel, inside of the conditions for this conditional use permit, is there any sort of architectural request or any sort of?
I don't think we included. It's hard for me to pull it up while I'm screen sharing, but I don't think we included architectural elevation review, Abby.
We did not.
Okay.
Okay, we want architectural review on everything. Whether it's this petition or another one, the commission does want architectural review where we can get it on any petition.
Okay. I think that we can add, we can add that. So we will add the standard section, which is that architectural review will be required. Architectural elevation shall be reviewed in conjunction with the site development plan, and that architectural review would have to come before the commission for approval. I would say that we could also not only just add merely review, we could add, I don't know whether we would want to say on there that we would expect the structure to be, completely repainted. There could be some, at least something to ensure that the exterior, is improved. So I would say that at a bare minimum, from an architectural review standpoint, we would want to see the color of any sort of repainting, and we could add a condition either in the architectural review or in somewhere else, and that an exterior repaint or some sort of exterior improvements will be required if that is the will of the commission.
Yeah, if that's okay with the first and second.
yeah, that was my last questions. Would we see it? So yes, it's okay. I didn't second it.
Yeah,
I did second it. I seconded it, and I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, from what I remember, the building it desperately needed a paint job, and the parking lot itself was full of potholes and desperately in need of
Overlay.
resurfacing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I just don't think we should just hand them a zoning and they do nothing in return to
Sure.
improve the area.
Mel, was there a condition put into that to require the parking lot, at least in front of their use and sort of in their general vicinity? I'm not saying that this would necessarily, require the entirety of the site, because it is a larger site, but there be resurfacing or at least resurfacing or repair of the parking lot.
I think it's as directed by transportation because it's in the floodplain.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
given it's already paved, they should be able to resurface it
Okay.
in the floodplain.
I mean, we can add a condition into attachment
That's
C.
clear.
Yes, that's
Very
clear.
clear.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Anyone else have anything? Seeing none with those items being added, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it 5-0. And we'll go on to the next one, which is PC 27-21, Jeremy King, the Watering Bowl.
Good evening. This is PC 27-21, Jeremy King, the Watering Bowl. As you'll recall, this is a request for a change in zoning from R2 to C8. for a 1.63 acre tract on the west side of the intersection of Mattis Road and Worthington Drive and the east side of Old Tesson Road. You can see here from the county context, again, it's in South County. You can see the parcel outlined in red. I did want to draw your attention to the unique triangular shape of the parcel. And you can see that in more detail here. There's some challenges presented by the triangular shape of the parcel. So this is the preliminary site development plan that was shown at public hearing. The petitioner is proposing the adaptive reuse of the existing structure, as well as adding an enclosed turfed play yard just to the west and north of the existing building immediately adjacent to it. There are 2 curb cuts proposed along Mattis Road. They're one way, one inbound, one outbound. And then they are showing landscaping along Mattis Road and the interior of the parking lot, and then some additional trees further north along Mattis. The Worthington Drive right-of-way, the structure where it begins at Mattis and goes along Worthington Drive has a 10-foot setback, and then the structure, the facade, comes up to the Worthington Drive right-of-way as you go along Worthington there, and there is no more setback from the building to Worthington Drive to where the building ends. So some recommended revisions to the site development plan include additional landscaping both along Mattis Road, but additionally along Old Tesson Road. There is, an excessive amount of pavement on this site, so restoring that to a more natural state and putting, a landscape buffer yard, excuse me, along Old Tesson is recommended. And then since there is no buffer yard on Worthington Drive, in lieu of landscaping, we are recommending an art installation of some sort, whether that be a mural or a unique design or what have you. We're kind of leaving that up to the petitioner or the developer to submit something, but the idea would be to have increased visual interest, to break up the facade a little bit, so you're not just looking at a big wall. And that's to increase the aesthetics of the site in lieu of the landscaping that can't be provided. Additionally, the petitioner is showing chain link fencing around the perimeter of the site. The turfed play yard where the dogs will be outside is shown as completely enclosed by a site-proof fence. So the department doesn't feel there's a need for perimeter fencing anymore. I would call out though that we are recommending a permanent barrier be installed on the sort of southwestern corner of the site along Worthington Drive where the ramp starts, just to prevent unauthorized access as a safety concern. So we are recommending a permanent barrier be installed there. We're recommending approval. The commercial zoning is reasonable and is in keeping with the surrounding land use and development pattern. Additionally, the triangular shape of that lot really makes residential uses untenable, and coupled with lot size requirements in the zoning ordinance, but additionally single family lot design standards would really make it difficult for a residential development to occur on this site. The C8 Plan Commercial District procedure allows for site-specific conditions of development to protect surrounding permitted land uses, specifically those residential land uses to the east of the site. The proposed use aligns with the goals of the 6 County Council District Community Area Study, which recommends commercial development along the Tesson Ferry commercial corridor, particularly development that would serve the needs of businesses in the area, but as well as the individuals in the surrounding neighborhoods. Some specific conditions of development that we're recommending is architectural review, including any art installation and signage that would be proposed, limiting the height of lighting standards to 16 feet in keeping with the requirements, maximum lighting standard height in a residential district, then enhanced landscaping to include Missouri native plants, and then additionally that, landscaping along the old Tetson Road. And so at this time, I would ask for a motion for approval.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion for approval.
We have a second?
Lawler seconds.
Okay, discussion, anyone? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it 5-0. No old business letters or anything, so we'll go to correspondence. First item is a text amendment.
Yes, so we have two resolutions of intent for two different proposed text amendments to the zoning ordinance. The first is a resolution of intent regarding electric vehicle charging or EV charging. Just this past month, the County Council adopted an ordinance requiring the installation of EV charging stations in parking lots in unincorporated St. Louis County for pretty much the range of land uses except for residential. Right now, the zoning ordinance does not require electric vehicle charging in parking lots for any use. So if the Planning Commission adopts this resolution, we will hold a public hearing regarding this text amendment at the November 22nd public hearing.
Okay, we want to do these together, or you want to do them?
Sure, I'll do the other one as well. So the
Okay.
second one is a resolution of intent regarding the FP floodplain district regulations of the zoning ordinance. Currently, the FP floodplain district requires a report by a professional engineer for any work in the floodplain to ensure that the floodplain is protected. This includes projects that are really minor in nature and may not impact the floodplain at all, such as a driveway overlay. The Department of Transportation has asked that the commission looks at the requirements for a PE signature and seal on these plans. So if the commission adopts this resolution of intent, we would hold a public hearing on this topic at the November 22nd public hearing as well.
Okay, we need a motion.
I motion that we pass this resolution of intent to install EV station in unincorporated St. Louis County. Also, the intent of floodplain district regulation.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion, anyone? Either item? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it 5-0. And the next item is Communication General Grant Realty, 5491 and 5591.
Yes, this is PC 5491 General Grant Realty and PC 5591 Brehan Swanson Inc. It's a request for an amendment to C8 Ordinance 15,727 to increase the maximum square footage of the convenience store from 2,400 square feet to 2,700 square feet. This request is different from the thrift store request that you saw a few weeks ago on the same site. This is in a different part of the retail development. As you may recall, this site is in South County, and there you can see it outlined in red. Here is another aerial highlighting just the gas station and convenience store. It's at the western part of the site at the entrance from Telegraph Road. This is the preliminary site development plan. The C8 currently allows a 2,400 square foot convenience store with a 1,300 square foot car wash. The petitioner is requesting instead a 2,700 square foot convenience store be allowed with a 1,300 square foot car wash. The department is recommending approval of this request. We find that the proposed use is in keeping with the overall retail development at this site, and the petitioner is proposing a 294 square foot addition, which we feel is a minor change to the building size.
Okay, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
We have a second.
I second, Bill Ballard.
Discussion, anyone?
Where did he get the extra 300 square feet? I'm just curious. Did he get it internally or did he expand the building?
It'll be a building expansion to add a walk-in freezer and storage, I believe.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it 5-0, and we've got two site plans. First one is PC 05 and 05-91, Mcbride Barrel Land Company.
Good evening. Tonight I have the site plan for PC 04 and 0521 Mcbride Bear Land Company LLC for the Shadowpoint subdivision. As you can see from the context map, the site is located in South St. Louis County, and it's at Telegraph Road and Fine Road. So looking at the site plan, you can see that it's for it's a 25.84 acre site with 53 single family lots. The site is accessed via an internal drive that terminates in a permanent cul-de-sac that does provide for connectivity for future expansion. This is a closer look at each side of the subdivision. The average lot size is 7,200 square feet with a minimum lot width of 60 feet. This is showing the monument sign that will be brick and stone that will be placed at the entrance to the subdivision at Telegraph Road. And this is the landscaping plan, complete with 2 trees per lot. The development will have approximately 14 acres of common ground that will be planted in Missouri native deciduous evergreen trees, as well as shrubs and grasses. And they are also maintaining 4.3 acres of existing trees and wooded areas on the site. At this time, the department is recommending approval of this site plan.
Okay, do we have a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second it, Lawler.
Discussion, anyone? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it 5-0. And the last one is PC 149-88 Christian Hospital Northeast Northwest.
So this is a comprehensive sign package for Christian Hospital Northeast. You can see the site outlined here on the west side of Lewis and Clark Boulevard, north of Interstate 270. So there are two sort of batches of signs I'm going to show you. This first site plan shows the location of the petitioner's freestanding signs. They're proposing 3 monument signs along Dunn Road. You can see M1, M2, and M3 here. 4 internal directional signs located G1 through G4, and then 28 post and panel signs, which are internal sort of directional and informational signs. So this slide shows the monument signs that would be along Dunn Road. These are the interior information and directional signage. And what I'll add is that some of these signs, like the ones on the screen right now, are existing, but due to the proposed signs, they are coming back to utilize the comprehensive sign package to permit all their signs. And then this is what what they're calling the post and panel sign, the internal directional information sign. There are 28 of these, which would have different wayfinding items on the different lines. Some may say emergency, some may point you towards the different medical buildings. This exhibit shows the location of wall signs. So you'll see there's the main hospital building here. Medical Office Building 1 to the north and Medical Office Building 2 to the sort of west here. They are proposing 3 emergency signs over the emergency room entrance. And then they're proposing wall signage for the main hospital building that looks like this. So Christian Hospital, as well as the BJC logo on the north and the south side. And then each medical building will have a sign on each, on 2 of the 4 faces. This is for Medical Office Building 2, the eastern elevation, and the western elevation. And then the other medical office building on the north side, the east elevation and the west. And then there is one sort of canopy sign, Welcome to Christian Hospital, located at the sort of visitor access on the south side of the site. With that, we are recommending approval of this comprehensive sign package.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion for approval.
Second.
Discussion? See none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. 5-0. Anything for the good of the order?
Just that we have a public hearing in about 25 minutes using the same WebEx link that you used to get into this meeting.
Okay, thank you. We need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
I second. Bill Ballard.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, and we are adjourned till 7 o'clock.
All right, see you
Right.
soon.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.